In Silicon Valley, John Thomas Draper unlocked the secret to unlimited free calls using nothing but a plastic whistle. His skill captivated everyone, even the likes of young prodigies such as Steve Jobs. However, scandalous allegations of semi-clothed piggyback rides, stalking, sexual harassment, and forgery soon bubbled to the surface. Who truly is the hacker who inspired Steve Jobs, and are the rumors about him true? To answer these questions, we have to travel back in time to where it all began. Meet John Draper, a kid whose childhood was more about broken radios and military gadgets than playground games. His father, an Air Force engineer, would often bring home discarded components. John didn't see junk, he saw opportunity. And in his young hands, those scattered parts transformed into a working radio. Imagine him huddled in his makeshift workshop, the room crackling with radio static and the smell of old metal. School, however, was a tough nut to crack. John, with his head always in a radio or some technical gadget, didn't quite fit the mold. He was the odd one out, the target for school bullies. But did this deter him? Not at all. Every snide comment, every push and shove only made him more determined to pursue his interests. After finishing high school, he chose to step into his father's shoes and joined the Air Force in 1964. There, amid the rigid discipline and harsh Alaska cold, John found a new playground: the local telephone switchboard. He loved to tinker around with it, and one day he stumbled upon a way to make free calls. Picture the joy in his fellow servicemen's eyes when they could dial their families back home without worrying about the cost. When he left the Air Force, he headed straight for the heart of technology, Silicon Valley. There he worked for companies like National Semiconductor and Hugel International, contributing to projects like cordless telephones. Outside of work, he didn't forget his love for radios. He joined KKUP as a disc jockey, sharing his unique taste in music with the folks in Cupertino, California. Long hair, peace signs, and the sweet smell of marijuana became part of his life, reflecting the counterculture styles of the time. From a bullied schoolboy to a tech enthusiast, John's journey was far from ordinary. As he dabbled with radio waves and phone signals, little did he know he was on the path to becoming the legend known as Captain Crunch. But how did he get there? Stick around and let's unravel that mystery in the next chapter. Have you ever heard of a phone phreak? It's not a title you stumble upon every day. Picture a secret society, not of hooded figures in candlelit basements, but of nerds huddled over telephones, mapping out the maze of the telecommunications system. When John Draper stumbled into this world, it felt like finding home. John's entry ticket into the phreaking community was Denny Teresi. Denny was a fellow tech head, always on the hunt for knowledge just like John. It was like an unexpected meeting of kindred spirits, and it wasn't long before they were exploring the intricate web of the phone lines together. One day, a simple children's toy set off a chain of events that would change everything. It was a plastic whistle, a freebie in the Captain Crunch cereal boxes. When blown, it gave out a sharp, clear note at precisely 2,600 Hz, an audio frequency used by AT&T long lines. To the untrained ear, it was just a piercing sound, but to John, it was the key to unlocking the telecommunications system. The blue box was born, a device that could mimic various control tones used by the phone company. Envision the thrill, the sense of power, as John dialed numbers not just across the street or state, but across the continent, all for free. They were not just dialing numbers, they were orchestrating a symphony of sounds, exploiting the loopholes in the telephone network system. But all good things come to an end. AT&T introduced the signaling system number 7, a digital signaling technology that was immune to the tones of the blue box or the whistle. The analog frequencies were replaced with digital signals. The maze that John and his fellow phreaks had mapped out was replaced with a locked fortress that they couldn't infiltrate. Can you see John staring at his now obsolete blue box, a relic of a bygone era? The joy of his discoveries, the thrill of his free calls were a thing of the past. But if you think this was the end of the road for John, you're mistaken, for all was not as it seemed. One phone call, unexpected and uninvited. On the other end, an eager journalist, Ron Rosenbaum, asking questions, hungry for a story. John was reluctant at first, wary of the spotlight. I don't do that anymore. And if I do it for one reason and one reason only. I'm learning about a system. The phone company is a system. A computer is a system. Do you understand? If I do what I do, it's only to explore a system. Computers, systems, that's my bag. The phone company is nothing but a computer. But eventually, he agreed, deciding to share his intriguing journey with the world. When the story hit the shelves of Esquire magazine in 1971, it was like a match thrown onto dry grass. The tale of the elusive Captain Crunch, the man who could whistle his way through phone lines, spread like wildfire. Suddenly, John was famous, his name spoken in whispers among tech enthusiasts and alarm within the walls of the telecommunication companies. But fame is a double-edged sword. In 1972, the law came knocking on John's door. The sense of dread, the sinking feeling in the pit of his stomach as he was charged with toll fraud must have been unforgettable. A 5-year probation was handed down, a bitter pill to swallow for the man who just wanted to explore the world of technology. Yet, every cloud has a silver lining. The journey through the stormy seas of legal trouble led John to cross paths with a bright young tech enthusiast, Steve Wozniak. Steve, an admirer of John's Esquire fame and associate of Steve Jobs, was eager to learn the secrets of the blue box. Their mutual passion for technology sparked a friendship that grew into a business. In the quiet of night, they started a small venture, crafting and selling blue boxes to fellow tech enthusiasts. The pair hunched over workbenches, assembled their devices in secrecy. It was no fortune-making enterprise, barely scraping by with 100 or so sales. Yet it marks the start of something bigger. The blue box was a stepping stone, the prelude to the technological revolution that was to come. But the question remains, how did John navigate the rocky waters of his new fame and legal trouble? And what role did this new partnership play in the grand scheme of things? Let's find out. From the electric hum of phone lines to the whirring minds behind the budding Apple Inc., John Draper was not one to miss a beat. In his workshop, the air is filled with the distinct smell of a soldering iron and electronic parts. His fingers move with precision, expertly crafting the Charlie board. This was his ticket to connect the Apple II to the vast network of phone lines, an important breakthrough in the late 70s. Think about every text document you've ever created, every line of a school report, every draft of a work email, every quick note you've typed on your phone. They all have a shared ancestor. It's called EasyWriter, the first ever word processing program for the Apple II computer, and John Draper was the mastermind behind it. Before EasyWriter, making a document on a computer wasn't as simple as opening an app and starting to type. It was a complicated, time-consuming process. But EasyWriter changed all that. It took the words you typed and showed them on the screen right away. Something that seems so normal now, but back then, it was pure magic. But what was so special about EasyWriter? It was like teaching a computer to understand human language. Draper wrote lines of code, instructions that the computer could understand. Each line of code was like a small, precise instruction telling the computer what to do when a certain key was pressed. It was like a manual translator, turning each tap of a keyboard into a letter or a symbol on the screen. EasyWriter was more than just a cool new tool. It completely changed the way we write and share our ideas. Before, a computer was just a machine for doing calculations. After EasyWriter, it became a powerful way to communicate. But this big shift didn't happen overnight. There was no big party or press release when EasyWriter came out. It was a slow, steady change that just kept growing and growing until it was part of everyday life. However, John Draper's tale was not all about tech breakthroughs. The shadow of the law still loomed large over him. Recalls of court hearings, legal battles, and periods of incarceration started to disrupt his rhythm. His relationship with Apple became strained as his legal troubles cast a dark shadow over his work. In a bid to ride the wave of his technological accomplishments, Draper formed Captain Software, the The figures were promising, with reported revenues in the range of $250,000 in the early 80s, but the scent of success was soured by a lawsuit alleging Draper had failed to fulfill a software contract. John Draper's life thus far was a roller coaster of highs and lows, but nobody could have foreseen what lay ahead. The story of John Draper, our crunchman, moves next to Autodesk. Here, he didn't just turn up for work, he built digital landscapes and breathed life into complex coding languages. These weren't just chunks of text on a screen, they were keys that unlocked design possibilities for architects and engineers across the globe. His work echoed through the clean geometric lines of buildings and the efficient hum of complex machinery. The itch for innovation couldn't be ignored, and soon Draper was on to his next venture. He co-founded Shop IP, a company dedicated to defending tech ideas from thieves. Yet even with an ocean of ingenuity, Draper found himself adrift on choppy waters. The trials at Shop IP weren't simple puzzles to be solved, but stumbling blocks that brought him down more than once. Unfazed by the tough terrain, Draper switched lanes and joined N2Go. The name was new, but the mission remained unchanged. Shake up the status quo. This time, the aim was a seismic shift in entertainment consumption. The path was riddled with failures, but each setback was merely a stepping stone, a lesson learned. However, an unorthodox attempt to exploit the Bay Area rapid transit system tickets tossed Draper into a whirlpool of legal trouble. He found himself accused of forgery, a crime as serious as it sounds. A narrow escape route appeared in the form of a diversion program, pulling him away from the dark abyss of incarceration. But the sky wasn't clear for long. In 2017, allegations of Draper's sexually inappropriate behavior towards other attendees of hacking and security-related conferences arose. In the wake of these accusations, key conferences such as DEF CON, HOPE, and TourCon, which had previously been his platforms, banned him permanently. Further allegations continued to taint Draper's reputation. A stalking campaign from the 1970s and an odd encounter involving a semi-clothed piggyback ride further added to the controversy. Draper, caught in the eye of the storm, fought back against the allegations. He publicly declared that he has Asperger's syndrome, implying that it might have contributed to the misunderstandings regarding his behavior. In his defense, he labeled the encounters as energy workouts, which involved a range of physical activities, suggesting they were rooted in applied kinesiology, a form of alternative medicine he advocated for. He strongly denied any explicit intent that he breached the line of appropriateness and refrained from responding to certain claims. The array of accusations coupled with Draper's peculiar explanations clouded the tech legend's image. His conduct stirred debates in tech communities worldwide, leaving many questioning the legacy of this eccentric innovator. John Captain Crunch Draper's life is a bit of a wild journey. He lived his life on the move, always pushing the rules with his creative tech tricks. But his story makes you think. Was he just a gutsy computer whiz doing his thing, or a rule breaker whose bad actions covered up his good work? No matter what, his story stands out in the world of tech, like the loud sound of a Captain Crunch whistle. And that sound, it keeps on ringing.